If you feel absolutely exhausted at the end of your workday and your eyes are feeling heavy and you're just feeling fatigued, it might not be your workload. It might be your environment. Although you might not have control of your environment, and this could be lots of screen, hard lines, artificial light, and in some cases, no natural daylight or no windows. And if we have to be honest, your nervous system feels that. Today, we're going to talk about visual recovery. We're going to talk about biophilic design, cognitive wellness, indoor air quality, and how that relates to the well-building standard. Today, I'm going to show you how this plant right here is going to make an impact in your screen-heavy environment. Whether you work in a corporate environment, work for a fun tech company, or work from home, or you run your own creative studio and perhaps your own business, this plant is called a snake plant, also known as a Sansevieria. And I'm going to teach you and explain to you why you need this plant in your work environment. A few years ago, I got a request call from a client to come assess her workspace. And when I got to her workplace, she was working in a half cubicle, if you want to call it, or half office. It was basically the corridor, and there was an insert. It could have been previously a printing station there or extra storage station, but the office had transformed it into a workspace, and they put in a desk off the corridor so that the employee can work there. Now, she did not have access to windows. She only had the overhead lights on. And so if you are in a situation that you can relate to this, I want to speak to you because it's not easy being in an environment where you don't really have much control of your surroundings. You don't have control of how you're working, where you're working. You just have to do your work. Now, when you're in a situation like that, not only you are struggling with the main factor that you have no natural daylight, let alone any natural features or connection or visual connection to nature, which is all screens or walls. And so your focus zone is either on the screen or the wall. You're staring at artificial light all day, and your nervous system feels that. When we look at evidence-based design, especially going into biophilic design suggests that integrating natural elements within your space, and this could be in various ways, but I'm going to refer to the evidence base of Terrapin Bright Green, the 14 patterns of biophilic design, and that is a visual connection to nature. That visual connection to nature can and has the ability to support mental restoration, stress reduction, and enhance your well-being. Now, something as simple as bringing a plant into your space sounds, not sure if it actually makes an impact, but science shows it does. And today's plant is a Sansevieria, and the Sansevieria is highly recommended if you have a screen-heavy workplace. Now, the reason why is that Sansevierias, they grow upward. They're not bushy plants, and they have a dense, thick leaf, which makes a statement plant. It has a strong upright form. The leaves are also sculptural. And the key here is there's low visual clutter. Lastly, and probably the main important part of why having this plant in your workplace environment, especially when you don't have natural daylight, is that it is perfect. It has perfect tolerance for low light areas. Snake plants support multiple well-inspired design principles, such as biophilic integration, perceived air freshness, or I should say when we look at indoor air quality, even the psychological comfort and restorative environment. Now, even the simple act of seeing greenery throughout the workday can help reduce the feeling of environmental fatigue. And this is huge. This is huge when your workplace hasn't been designed as an environment to help you thrive throughout the workday. All right, let's talk about best placement for Sansevierias or snake plant in your office. Now, if you have either, you could do this on a single screen or a double screen, but have Sansevierias behind your screen. Now, if you were like my client where your computer is literally parallel to a wall, that is a perfect way to integrate Sansevieria between your screens and the wall. Another perfect place to add them is in dead corners in your office space. And dead corners, again, because Sansevierias are so tolerant to low light, you can also add a floor lamp or a task light in the make sure that you have something in the parameter, but they can fit very well and take up that space because they don't take up floor space, they grow vertically. If you are planning to update your office area and you work in an office space that you have opportunity to make change, well, use Sansevieria as zoning plants, which divide spaces. It also provides type of privacy between two various space. It's the perfect zoning plant for interior, especially in corporate environments, for corporate and hospitality. Okay, before I wrap up, I want to clarify something very important, something that you've probably heard over the internet. And is this true? Does your houseplant really purify the air? And how many houseplants do you actually need to purify your air? The idea comes from 1989 NASA Clean Air study, which tested plants in sealed chambers to see whether they could remove VOCs like benzene and formaldehyde. And yes, plants can absorb small amount of VOCs through their leaves, roots, and soil microorganisms. But in real homes and offices, modern research shows that the effect is much smaller than people think because buildings constantly exchange air through ventilation systems, doors, and windows. And some studies estimate that you need anywhere from 10 to over 1,000 plants per square meter to match normal building ventilation. So no, one snake plant does not have the ability to remove all the toxin out of your air. The snake plants beside your desk is not replacing an air purifier, but that does not mean that plants are useless. The strongest evidence for indoor plants is actually psychological and environmental wellness, which reduces stress perception, improves moods, it gives visual restoration, increases your connection to nature. And that's why plants are deeply rooted and relevant in the well-building standard. Now the sun is setting, and it's time for me to get outside for my daily run. But in the meantime, I want to just encourage you. If you are in an environment that there is no house plant, especially at work, I invite you to bring in that snake plant because it will make a difference in your workday. Lastly, I'm going to show you how to propagate the Sansevieria right from your desk so that you don't have to continue buying plants and you can still grow your workspace wellness corner.